This is the regular meeting of the Peralta Community College District Board of Trustees. We are calling this meeting the open session to order at 6:10 p.m. Let's go ahead and move to our Pledge of Allegiance, and I will ask Trustee Napoli Bella-Reese, would you lead us, please? Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and move to roll call.
Student Trustee Hogan. Student Trustee Latino.
Here.
Trustee Withrow.
Is coming.
Oh, thank you. Trustee Johannes.
Here.
Trustee Gonzalez Ewan.
Right here.
Trustee Napoli Bella-Reese.
Here.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito.
Here.
Trustee Quinlan.
Here.
Trustee Delphine Polk.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll move to 3.4, affirmation of the statement of cooperation. Over the course of the last several years, we, the PCCD Board of Trustees, have been engaging in a process of reflection to improve our effectiveness as a board. As a result, we have conducted a critical review of our work over the last several years through a formal self-evaluation and established meaningful goals. The Peralta Board has adopted a statement of cooperation that codifies our commitment to set the bar for excellence in governance, community college leadership, and to lead by example for our Peralta colleges. The full statement of cooperation is attached to the agenda, but in summary, we have committed to build trust and to seek to understand each other, to be prepared and follow good governance and ethical protocols, and model the behavior we want others to exhibit. We therefore commit to honoring and upholding these commitments in words and in action. Okay, we will move to 3.5, report of action taken in closed session. I don't believe we have a report out, VP Quinlan.
No report.
Thank you. 3.6, approval of the agenda. Motion, please. Unless there are any changes.
Move
Please.
to approve.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call or discussion? Anything else? Okay, roll call.
Student Trustee Hogan.
Yes.
Student Trustee Latino.
Yes.
Trustee Withrow. Trustee
Yes.
Johannes. Oh, thank you, sir. Trustee Johannes.
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Ewan.
Yes.
Trustee Napoli Bella-Reese.
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito.
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan.
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. 3.7, approval of the minutes. Motion, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Student Trustee Hogan.
Yes.
Student Trustee Latino.
Yes.
Trustee Withrow.
Yes.
Trustee Johannes.
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Ewan.
Yes.
Trustee Napoli Bella-Reese.
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito.
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan.
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes,
Motion passes.
great. Thank you very much. 3.8, associated student government reports. Let's start with Laney College. Do you have anybody from Laney College?
College District. My name is Omolola and I'm representing ASLC. And here is my report. ASLC council members, we have a dinner event before May 20th at the Student Center of Laney College. Black Student Union was approved to have the Black Laney Grad Luncheon on May 17th. And it's going to be between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. at the Laney Quad. The May 3rd forum was successful, and we plead with students at Laney College to attend ASLC meetings. We also have a project that we started in February for each department to have at least 2 student liaison officers serve as mouthpieces. We still have the application on, and we encourage our students at Laney College to apply to be part of ASLC meetings. On behalf of ASLC, we say thank you to President Rudy Besikoff for being attentive to the students of Laney College and for the immeasurable support for ASLC. And finally, a special thank you to our fellow students at Laney College. And that concludes my report for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll move now to Berkeley City College. Do we have anybody from Berkeley City College with us?
I do not see them online.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move to College of Alameda.
Hello. For College of Alameda, as always, we've always had TC Tuesdays and farmers markets every Tuesday to provide students with students on campus with gear as well as just snacks and food for when they need it. But also, I'd like to add on that the Wellness Wednesday events that we've been implementing since February this year has kept on going, and recently had some new events be part of the program, such as acupressure, arts and activities, and soon. Last 2 weeks ago, on the 26th, we also had Dr. Naza Nawankapa. She helped us out and came over to give us some African dance meditation, as well as crystal bowl ambience and music that she taught and helped people listen to at her outside. And soon, as for next week, this week, we also plan another Wellness Wednesday for the rest of the semester, which will have basically a noodle baking event, some energy meditation. More of that will be later because I'm not too familiar with them. And soon we'll have a lineup performance coming out at the 8th as well. And soon, as for this month's graduation events, we have multiple that we're going to with different senators. They're going to be covering each one individually. But as for the one on our own campus coming on the 22nd, our student government in College of Alameda will be helping out with a glad gift, as well as funding a scholar banquet that they'll be partaking with as well. That is all I have to report, though, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to Merritt College.
Hi, everyone. I would like to report on behalf of the Associated Students of Merritt College, the ASMC. I would like to report that we were able to, I was able to attend the Cinco de Mayo event that we had on May 5th in our R125 building. It was a great success. It was a very large panel of educators and some staff and faculty, some classified staff and also faculty that was on the panel. It was really a really nice celebration. That same day, I also attended the Lavender graduation at Laney College on behalf of the ASMC. Also, there has been 2 events for the PTK, the Phi Theta Kappa. The first was an induction ceremony on May 3rd, where President Johnson was honored. There was also on yesterday, May 8th, there was a Dress for Success event where we were able to, the ASMC worked in conjunction. We also had a visitor, Sarah Latino, where she came and helped out with the event as well. It was nice to see her. I also would like to add that the ASMC has been meeting with Laney's Laney College's chapter for the Poor People's Campaign. And we've been talking and addressing student housing developments and the needs of the students that are dealing with housing insecurities. This is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. So I wanted to make sure that I added this into the report, that there is a petition that the students of Laney College are asking that other students sign in conjunction with trying to work with the administration on ways to support students with housing insecurities. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you very much, student trustee. We'll move to 3.9, Peralta Classified Senate Report.
There is no report for tonight. My apologies.
Thank you very much. We will move to 3.10, District Academic Senate Report. Is President Moore here with us?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, President Delphine Polk, members of trustees and Chancellor Jackson and presidents. Yes, we're only a couple of weeks away for the end of the semester, and all of the different events, as the student trustee noted, are already starting to happen. And graduation is just around the corner, and it looks to be exciting that we're going to have it in person, and that the faculty will be out there celebrating, the classified will be out there celebrating, and certainly the students and family members will all be celebrating this event. It's always a wonderful time for those of you who haven't attended, just because everybody has their own story in terms of how they got there. And that's always the most important, is the student journey. And as we all begin to focus in on student journey, one of the things that I know that we are trying to ensure is that just signing up to take our classes is really being critically looked at, and trying to see how we might be able to shorten the amount of that. I can't tell you how many times I hear of people who want to see how hard or how easy it is, and they do it, and how difficult it is. And so I know that that's moving forward. There seems to be a number of things that we are trying to do, and I think it is helpful as we continue along. I think part of the issue is how do we do everything sustainably as we move along. And my hope is that we could get our budget corrected so we could move forward. As you know, there is a structural deficit that had to be resolved, and that ultimately the colleges all had to pay for it by utilizing positions, freezing positions, and of also providing additional funds, discretionary funds from their budgets. As we move forward, we're going to have to address this in some type of sustainable way, and that as we move towards this cliff that people keep on talking about, we really need to ensure that the resources that we have and that we need for the classroom and for our students are there. This is going to be my last board meeting. I am stepping down from this position, and we will have a new DAS president come July 1. And we really feel strongly that we want to work closely with the Board of Trustees and the Chancellor and the presidents, because there seems to still be a lot more to do. We are going to be looking forward to your process as you go about selecting the new chancellor. And we will be looking forward to the forum that will occur in early fall. And we are going to try to address these district governance issues that continue to come up. I see today that there is a strategic plan that you all are going to be looking at, and it hasn't gone through its governance process yet. I understand that it will be going through governance later this month, but all of this really points to the fact that I think the district and the colleges are all trying to address the various issues that we constantly seem to have. But the one that I really want folks to look at and try to address is how are we going to sustain ourselves with the change that has occurred in terms of after the pandemic, and our students continue to come back at a very, very slow rate. And yet we have all of these expenses. We have the colleges, we have the district, and we have expenses. And how do we navigate that in the next 2 or 3 years is going to be really, really important. And I hope that the district and the trustees are going to be committed to working with the classified senate, the academic senate, the unions, and everyone else to ensure that we have a very healthy district in the next few years. And so I'd like to thank everybody for trying to work with the district academic senate and the college academic senates, and we will continue to do this work. As you know, our faculty go on summer break come the next couple of weeks, and so the academic senate presidents will still be around, but the rest of the faculty will probably be going off to their summer break if they're not going to be teaching intersection or teaching summer. So thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you very much, President Moore. We're now going to move to public communications on matters that are not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers who would like to speak on things that are not on the agenda? Now is the time. Thank you, Mark.
I have 4 cards, man. I have a Catherine going first.
How's that? Well, at least you can hear me if you can't see me. So I am here to speak to you all about the fact that you still have a requirement for vaccination in place. And I would like to attend the college. My 2 children would like to attend. I have an 18-year-old and I have a 16-year-old who seriously wants to consider an early exit from high school in order to do that. And I had some questions for you all to consider. Could you provide to me the information on which vaccine is FDA approved? Can you provide to me the authority the union or the board has to dictate the medical choices of its students? Can you provide to me the legal basis that allows for the discrimination against students attending in person on a perceived medical condition? Are you aware of what a perceived medical condition is? Is the administration, the union, and the teachers aware of US Code 241 and 242, deprivation of rights under color of law? Are you aware that you can be stripped of any immunity for violating the due process rights of the public? Is the administration, union, and teachers ready to assure students that taking these shots will not cause any medical injury? And I've waited 3 years for this thing to pass. So we're ready now to get back to normal and for us to go back to school. Are you prepared to help to be held personally liable for any injury that might take place? Are you aware of what happens when you make fraudulent claims, as in safe and effective? Are you aware that the CDC has stated that the vaccine does not stop infection or transmission? Are you aware that protections under the local, state, and federal states of emergencies have lapsed because all of them have been lifted? Did you swear an oath when you joined this board? Do you remember what that oath is? And I read it to you and I quote, I, you, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Do you understand that property defined in the Fourth Amendment includes one's own body? And that includes medical choice and not being forced through coercion, meaning not able to attend school in public. And we all know that it's not what you know, it's who you know. So you're depriving students of connections with their peers, and that then also deprives them of advancement forward. Before continuing to move forward with this directive after 3 years of unlawfulness, you may first want to consider the answers to those questions. Thank you.
Next, we have Chepe Lopez. I'm sorry, I can't read the writing. I apologize if I said that incorrectly.
You guys hear me? Yeah. Yeah. My name is Chepe Lopez. I'm the president for the Latinx Center Club. One of my classmates talked about student housing. I think it's important because we need at least 2,000 units, right, for our students, because many students don't have a house. You know, we see a bunch of homeless, and you never know if those could be our students, right? We also need lower rent for students, right? Many places around Oakland is about $3,000 for the rent, right? We work and we also study, so it's gonna be hard for us to afford housing to living for community college, right? And we were open to collaborate with Oakland if it's possible to build, like I said, like apartment, or there's many hotels, right, that Oakland that are really using at this moment. Maybe we could use that for housing, but I highly recommend using at least 2,000 units for our students and for their safety. I just want to note that just because we live in the house or we live in an apartment doesn't mean that other people are suffering. We must keep in mind that we are human beings and that we are fighting for our rights for the students. Thank you.
Next, we have Kimberly King.
Hi, everybody. Hi, I'm Kimberly King. Greetings, Board of Trustees, Chancellor Jackson, presidents, and all the leaders here. I'm a professor at Laney College in psychology, ethnic studies, and I'm also the co-coordinator of the Umoja program at Laney, and I'm an active member of the Laney chapter of the Poor People's Campaign. And I'm speaking today to urge the board and the chancellor and her team to continue to apply for the available funding to build affordable student housing. Senate Bill 169 provides $250 million in one-time grant funds, as you know, to provide low-cost housing to students, and our students need that. I don't need to tell any of you that Oakland and the Bay Area has a huge housing crisis. The cost of housing is just too damn high, as people say, one of the highest in the nation. Peralta students need housing to successfully attend college. The United Nations Special Rapporteur on Adequate Housing inspected Oakland's homeless encampments in 2018 and described the conditions of systemic cruelty. She said, everywhere we've driven today, I've seen camps. And in Oakland, about 70% of the unhoused are African-American. Now, you guys know all this, but our students are part of this suffering that we're seeing. As you know, there's been surveys that have found that about 83% of Peralta students are housing insecure, and about 30% have been homeless in the last year. This is highest again among African-American and Native American students, although student housing affects all colors. In the richest state in the richest country in the world, the California State Legislature has recognized that we must do something about this housing crisis. And so they passed Senate Bill 169. And we of the Poor People's Campaign at Laney were surprised that the Peralta District had not yet applied for these funds. But we have heard that you are applying, and we're very excited and encouraged by that. We urge you to be sure to apply and to think of creative ways to provide affordable housing for students. We don't think the number of 200 to 300 units is large enough. There are well over 10,000 students in the district's colleges. So we urge you to apply for at least 2,000 units. We urge you to involve students and other members of the Peralta community who are active in advocating for student housing, that you involve us in your work. And we're a little unsure about why Alameda was chosen. I know there was a study, but it just, we hope that there will be transportation provided between the colleges, because Laney has the most easy transportation. It's centrally located and everything. And I would argue the unhoused population is largest at Laney. But if it's going to be at Alameda, we need the transportation. So in closing, we just urge you to follow through with your plan to apply for funding through Senate Bill 169 and to build enough housing to make a difference for Peralta students. Thank you.
Madam President.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. King, for the comment, and just this request to the chancellor at an upcoming board meeting, if we could get updated on the status of the grant application that we approved moving forward with within the last month or so.
Yes, they provided overview of the board of the status of where they were, and they presented an update to the executive cabinet on Monday. And they will be presenting another report to the board. They want to get far enough into the process because there's a deadline before we have our next meeting, so that we will give them guidance that they're moving in the right direction. So
thank you. I didn't mean to ask for a super substantive response.
You didn't, but now everybody knows that they will be coming back to the board, and they have also made a presentation previously identifying the selection criteria that was established by the state, so that we're most competitive in trying to get that. And yes, there is about $250 million, I think, out there still. I think it's 250. So we have a pretty good chance, and we hope that we'll be selected.
All right. Thank you.
Next, we have John Sullivan.
I have a paper to share with folks. Should I give that to the clerk or to pass it around? So I definitely don't think that anybody's against student housing. I think that's a pretty fair assumption to say that we're all want student housing, and it's just how do we get it and how do we go about it. And our biggest thing with presenting some of these items is that we really are trying to push for more housing. That's the biggest thing. That we can go around and talk about maybe the best location and whatnot, but at the end of the day, we just need more housing because we have 0 right now. And obviously, I can speak for myself. You know, I live in my vehicle and I go to school here. I didn't introduce myself totally. My name is John Sullivan, and you know, I am a representative on the student government at Laney, and I'm also a part of the Laney Poor People's Campaign, and I'll be transferring to UC Berkeley in the fall. So, you know, these things are super relevant to me, but also there is a lot of students that we work with and we talk with, you know, that obviously weren't able to be here tonight since people work and people have lives, and you know, these are just some of the folks that we were able to get tonight, but that's totally okay. And so for my part, I wanted to talk specifically about from what I saw, what I read in the report from April 11th, that there definitely needs to be more of a priority around housing for families, since there, you know, a lot of our students have dependents or spouses or, you know, other things. So we definitely need to prioritize housing for families and, you know, even undocumented folks. And because again, I can speak for myself, like even like at UC Berkeley, it's really hard to find student housing for families. So that's definitely a priority. And as well, as Dr. Kimberly King was mentioning, if housing is gonna be built at College of Alameda, there's the real need around transportation. Since College of Alameda definitely does not, it's not a central hub like Laney or even like BCC. There's a little bit more access to BART and AC Transit at those locations. So it's definitely something to keep in mind, that potentially a shuttle system or something would have to be put into the budget before that housing was built.
10 seconds.
Okay, and lastly, I wanted to just finish going back to the report from April 11th, that I didn't see anything about student homelessness in that report. And there is a lot of students that are struggling with that. So I definitely want that to be a priority in whatever housing is built, that we definitely need to be housing people that are not housed first. Thank you.
Next, we have Marlene Hurd.
Good evening, everyone. Many of you may not know who I am, but I'm Marlene Hurd. I used to serve on this Peralta board and taught me a lot. I've been on Laney College student government, graduated from Laney College, and also graduated from Merritt College. I'm here in support of more housing. I'm here to support these students because when I was attending Laney, I was once homeless, living in my car. So I know the need, and we need more. When I came out of homelessness, I applied to the Oakland Housing Authority. I got appointed by Mayor Ron Dellums. And now I'm serving on the Oakland Housing Authority Resident Advisory Board. I'm also serving on the Building Opportunities for Self-Sufficiency BOSS Board. We work with the homeless population. And to this very day, that's my passion. I don't forget what it was like living in my car, sleeping in my car, studying in my car. A couple of things I do want to say is I was really glad that you guys applied for the grant. Looking forward to new housing being built. But as my colleague just said, I didn't see anything about homeless students. Recently, I interviewed one of our homeless students who was a cosmetology student, and she shared her homeless journey experience with me. Luckily, She now recently just got her keys for her apartment. Woo, woo, woo. How exciting that is. But I've been attending the City of Oakland City Council meetings and hearing what they want to do and working with our Peralta colleges. And I'm asking that you contact the City of Oakland. They want to work with us. But I'm asking you guys to reach out with them. The other thing I want you to do is look into possibly doing something through the Measure U. I don't know if you guys know what Measure U is. That's where you can build more housing. And community land trust. That can help with that as well. But I don't forget what it was like being homeless. And students on our campuses right now are homeless. Where do they go? What type of resources are out there to help them maybe just get a voucher for a hotel? How can we do better to help them? So I'm looking forward to the new buildings coming up. And thank you again. You guys taught me a lot. I took what I learned here as a student trustee, and now I'm serving in my community, helping. David, you know that I've been doing my tobacco work. I continue to do that, but I don't forget my homeless journey. And I want to continue that work. And I'm looking forward to you guys doing that as well. Thank you.
Next, we have LaShawn Tolliver.
Yes, hello, I'm LaShawn Marcus Tolliver. I am a longtime Peralta Community College student. I'm a SSA student, I'm a DSP student, and currently unhoused, unsheltered. My vehicle was just towed, that was my current residence. I believe that Peralta Community District is severely underserving a big population of its students, and particularly the natives of Oakland, who have such difficult time trying to get reasonable accommodations in a reasonable time frame. Even today, you know, I was here at the SSA celebration, but I have been asking about the basic student need fund, or who and how it's accessed. And, you know, it just was a lot of runaround. I got some answers today that some folks said are going to get back with me, but I've been asking since January, and things like, how can you be a SSA DSP student and still be denied of EOPS? And how could you have an urgency and emergency and no one, it seems, to be available or have the time or the capacity to look at an urgency as an urgency, look at emergency as emergency. One of the staff persons in the DSP today almost had tears in her eyes, because when she saw me, she says, because we had a conversation last Friday about some of the challenge I was dealing with personally, family-wise, and my vehicle being towed. So the person that was dead on the side of Peralta Community College, she thought it was me. So fortunately, thank God, it wasn't me, and that I've been a community service advocate. I've been a person who built a homeless encampment. I've had my place destroyed by the city of Oakland. I've been put in hotels temporarily to turn around and they stopped funding. And it would be embarrassing sometimes to see schoolmates or even faculty from Peralta knowing that I'm a part of the school or part of the district, and not to have a conversation with me about what they could do or how they could help or who I should talk to and such. again, I'm a SSA student, TSP. I'm an advocate for children and adults with special needs, chronic homelessness, chronic hunger, and chronic homelessness. But recently, my vehicle was towed with all of my personal properties, my emotional support animal, things and such. And so I've been asking to see who in the district, who on the campus, who in the city could actually help with services, because there's so many agencies in the state of California, but right here in Alameda County, and particularly in the city of Oakland, who are billing for wraparound services, but they're not providing wraparound services. People are billing for direct support, and they're not doing direct support. People want to use their privileges and such to be on Zoom calls, and so people miss meetings and such, who should be present when certain conversations or certain topics are being addressed. So my concerns with Peralta were pre-COVID, because I was here pre-COVID. As a person whose transcripts in Peralta go back to 1994, and who came back to school as an older adult, and a person with cognitive neurological disabilities. So there's too many things that are not working, and there's too many things that is in my accommodation letters that are not available to me. And I've been asking to almost blue in the face to when will I even receive the things that are written in my accommodations. So, you know, there's some people who are part of this public forum about housing and such, who saw my encampment, saw my place. I built on the lake. I built a 2-bedroom out of pallets. And the whole time I was waiting for linkage to services. So I had already applied the 211, the coordinated entry, all of that stuff. So when I see these flyers on the campus and everybody want to cross-market, cross-promote, cross-advertise, it seems like it's more money in the marketing, promotion, and advertising than it is for direct support services or people being trained so that they could properly assist the individuals who are seeking direct support in times when they are in a crisis. So my name is LaShawn Tolliver. I am a Oakland native. I'm an SSA. I'm at both Merritt and Laney College, and still waiting on responses from several different departments who have heard of my requests for reasonable accommodations. So I don't know if it's going to happen this week, this month, or this year, but I would like someone to put an urgency on contacting me to see how they could help me to be successful with the continuation of my education plan, which is a psychology, clinical social work degree to work with children and adults with developmental challenges to make sure that they have reasonable accommodations, whether at school, whether at work, or it's their independent living situation. So that's my 2 cents. And I'm glad that I was able to come here today to represent some of the other students
10 seconds.
who are not able to be here today. Thank you.
That is all the public comment for tonight.
Thank you very much. Let's move to Chancellor's reports, 3.12.
Good evening, Board President, Vice President, board members, colleagues, and friends, and our students. I'm going to start with the presidents first. We have Vice President of Instruction, Cooney Hay, who is here as the acting president in the absence of Dr. Garcia. We'll follow that with College of Alameda, followed by Dr. Johnson, College of Alameda, Dr. Diana Bayrami, Dr. Johnson at Merritt College, and last but not least, Dr. Besikoff at Laney College. So, Cooney?
Great. Good evening, Chancellor, Board of Trustees, colleagues and guests. Tonight, BCC has a few highlights for you. First, we are proud to share with you that BCC is a 2023 champion for excelling in equitable course placement, receiving awards for campus-wide English enrollment, Latinx and Black English enrollment, and Black math success. The award recognized that BCC has successfully supported 100% of students enrolled directly into transfer level English coursework, 100% of Latinx and 100% Black students to enroll directly into transfer level English coursework. Of the 56 community colleges recognized for this awards, BCC is the only college recognized for supporting at least 60% of Black students who enrolled in a transfer level math course to successfully complete it within 1 year of their initial enrollment. We're really thrilled to accomplish BCC's mission this way. And I'd like to extend sincere and many thank you to our faculty, classified professionals, and administrators who work tirelessly and diligently to support our students. HSI Director Lisette Flores will be going to LA on May the 31st to receive this honorable award on our behalf. The second news is update is hot off the press as of today, and we have we have two recipients, our stars at BCC for students who received the 2023 Jack Kent Cook undergraduate transfer scholarships. This scholarship is highly selective scholarship for the nation's top community college students seeking to complete their bachelor's degree at four-year colleges and universities. This year, two BCC, those stars have received this scholarship that is up to $55,000 each. And we are not able to release their names just yet as they are working through with the foundation, with the details, with their arrangements. But we look forward to bringing this information to you in a future board meeting. Finally, we have been really busy at the end of the year celebration and appreciation events, and it looks like this pace is going to continue throughout the May. And we look forward to seeing some of you, many of you, at the upcoming events at BCC and then also through PCCD events. Thank you. This concludes my report from BCC.
Thank you, Cooney. Good evening, President Delphine Polk, trustees, chancellor, colleagues, and members of community. Just as my colleague stated, the May is the month to celebrate, and so many celebrations going on. The biggest celebration is the upcoming one, the culmination of a hard work of all our graduates. So sometimes when we look for those keynote speakers that will empower us and will empower a generation of students, we forget to honor our own. So I'm really glad to know that the graduation committee had extended an offer to our own Dr. Wise Allen to be our commencement speaker. He started his career in 1972 as a faculty at COA, and he has touched so many lives and so many levels. So we are really excited that Dr. Wise Allen said yes to COA. And talking about celebration, it is a great month in celebrating the Asian Pacific Islander and Desi American communities at COA. We had several events. Julie Sai Chow led most of these events. Also our own Ms. Chung-Wai Cham had a AAPI mixer here in Atrium. We had a lot of fun. COA was represented by more than 22 people in the APAI conference in Oakland. It was an amazing conference. We are a platinum sponsor for this event. In addition to well-recognized leaders like Wyman Fong, Rowena Tomantang, and so many other leaders, state leaders, We had our own Avali Peng, Chungwai Cham, Jackie Vo, and so many other leaders in our community. So that was a really great celebration. And talking about celebration, thank you so much to the Chancellor, to VC Smith, to Mark Johnson, Trustee Withrow and Trustee Quinlan for making the groundbreaking of the new facility, a great event. The rain did not stop us from celebrating and for being out there and enjoying that event. And it is really good to see faculty like Rick Greenspan, Rufino Ramos, Norton Blair, John Taylor, being really excited about this new facility. And we're looking forward to more celebration. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Chancellor Jackson, President Delphine Polk, trustees, colleagues, and community. Lots to share, but I'm just going to keep it to two things. The National Cyber League, NCL, just concluded its spring 2023 season, and I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Merritt College's team of student scholars. They go by meritocracy, that's their team name. And to provide a little bit of context, the mission of the National Cyber League is to prepare the next generation of cybersecurity professionals by providing students with an online platform to deal with real world cybersecurity challenges, so kind of think hacking contest, right? So hundreds of colleges, including four-year institutions, and thousands of teams participate every year. And this virtual training ground really provides a competitive process and supportive community to help students develop, improve, and validate their cybersecurity skills. So I'm proud to report that meritocracy with the student team members, I'm gonna get all the names right, Angela Hong, Calvin Shea, William Dilbeck, Jeremiah Prophet, Erica Dong, and James Tualu, out of 3,593 teams, Merritt College placed 16th, which ranks them, go ahead, give it up to them. Yeah. I'm not a math whiz, I got it on my, which top 0.4%. That's where we were. This is an incredible achievement and test of the talent and hard work of our students, as well as the support provided by the sponsors and faculty members such as Jim Cates, Mark Egan, and Beverly Brooks. So I wanted to give it up to them. And finally, I want to share some good news about a young lady at Merritt College, where we're very proud of her. If the quote, "strength and growth come only from continuous effort and struggle," that's a Napoleon Hill self-help author. Her life epitomizes that journey. Her name is Miss Esperanza Kimball. We call her Carmela. She came to this country from the Philippines at age 17, seeking a better life for herself and her young daughter. She's overcome many obstacles, but she remained resilient. She enrolled in Merritt College as a student, and as a student worker, began working at the bookstore and later in the library. Determined to reach her goals, she ultimately landed a permanent classified position at a library as a senior library tech, but she just kept at it academically. And she just learned that she was admitted to UC Davis as a transfer student. So she'll be beginning there in the fall. And I really think that her story, she was raised by Merritt and raised by this district. And it really attests and dramatizes what students can do and what we're here to do when we put our shoulders into it. So I want to congratulate Carmela, and that's my report for tonight.
Good evening, Chancellor Jackson, President Delphine Polk, members of the governing board, colleagues in education, and valued students and community members. In my report this evening, and I guess one of the things I'm touching on this evening is this idea of making an impact. And within your board report this evening, you have data about our Student Accessibility Services program and how in the last 5 years, we've gone from serving 720 students to over 1,330, and just the incredible work that's been done. Also, 2 Saturdays ago, we made an impact on our community with our CTE open house. More than 100 college employees gave of their Saturdays to be there to really welcome and open our doors to our community. And among the nearly 500 in attendance, we were pleased to welcome Trustee Gonzalez Brito as well as Trustee Quinlan. And it was a great event. Other impactful stuff has been going on as well. Yesterday, 4 of our great colleagues at Berkeley City College joined us in the 2nd floor of the tower as months and months of planning came to fruition, and we opened the Laney College Undocumented Students Resource Center. Over 40 colleagues in total, including our BCC cohorts, attended with us. And it was a great opening to kick things off. And really just looking at the personal touch and the home feel of this space, it really was, I think, what a lot of us pictured last summer when we started to talk about making this happen. It was great. Also, and Trustee Quinlan joined us for this last week on Friday. We had the first ever district-wide in-person lavender graduation. And it was a wonderful event attended by approximately 100 people, including my colleague, President Johnson, who joined me in naming 16 and honoring 16 graduates as they came forward. You may notice I've kind of been in the habit of leaving you stuff before the meeting. I did leave a copy of the program and the names of all that contributed to making this a great event that was really just full of a lot of sharing and stories of accomplishment. If you were there, you couldn't help but be moved, and whether it was the attention given to the program or the reception that took place afterward. And I would like to recognize all those that put in the work. Speaking of colleagues that work together, I also would like to thank our ASLC president, Omalala Atalagbe, as well as ASLC student government member Lita Hernandez, who with me on May 3rd co-facilitated listening sessions as we heard about our free college efforts as well as facilities and talked about a number of those things. So there have been a lot of things happening at Laney College and throughout our district that have had an impact. And that's one of the things that I think makes this great. As my final item tonight, it is with sadness that I report to the Peralta community that Counselor Mickelin or Mickey Metcalf, a counselor at Laney College and COA by way of Merritt, beginning in 2016, passed away on April 11th while in Tanzania, Africa. And later on this evening, I humbly request that we close the meeting in her memory. This concludes my report.
Thank you, President. I'll turn it back over to President Delphine Polk.
Okay, we will move to the informational portion of our agenda. First reading of the board policies and a review of administrative procedures. Chancellor?
As you know, our policy is, we have a policy on how to change policies. And we've gone through that, that's board policy 2410 and administrative procedure 2410. As part of that, what we do is there's several different ways for policies or administrative procedures to be generated. So I would point the board to board policy 2410. One of the ways that we make recommendations is that we're part of a subscription with the League of California Community College League, CCLC. How about that? And so this is the result of that. This is it's gone through the PGC, which is our representative body, went through them last Friday in this first reading. And then it'll come back for a second reading and approval.
This is informational. We don't have to do anything.
No, this is the first reading, informational only. If you have any questions between now and the next board meeting, because it will be coming back for approval of these policies, but they have gone through the shared governance and are being recommended by the PGC.
Great. Thank you very much, Chancellor. We will move now to the first presentation, first reading for the colleges and district educational master plans. We have West Ed with us, Dr. Drucker.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. And it is my pleasure to welcome back West Ed, who has been facilitating the college educational master planning processes as well as the district strategic plan. For our first reading tonight, we're having you look at the college educational master plans. West Ed Senior Manager Kelsey Crossan and her team are here to walk you through that. We've included the district strategic plan as we wanted you to see the whole picture, but actually the district strategic plan is not here for our first read. It is only informational for you, Board of Trustees, because we would like you to have more discussion and review of that during your next retreat. Once you've had the chance to engage in the document and provide some feedback, we will then send it through the shared governance process at the district. It has not gone through yet. We wanted you to have a chance to look at it, but it was really important that you saw all of them together because as we've mentioned before, Chancellor Jackson, her vision was to make sure the district plan really supported the college plan. So we wanted you to see those. So with that, I also want to make note that Associate Vice Chancellor Tina Vasconcelos is here as well, who's been integral in being the liaison between the district portion and the colleges. She engaged in that process, so she is here. And so I'll turn it over to Kelsey and team. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Good evening, Chancellor Jackson, President Delphine Polk, Board of Trustees, and Peralta Community. We're really happy to be here tonight for this first reading of the educational master plans. And before we jump into the presentation by the college presidents, we just want to recognize the incredible work that the presidents and the college teams have put into these plans. I know it's been a heavy lift for all of them, and really also want to recognize the ways in which they have reached out to their communities, to students and faculty, classified staff, through their participatory governance processes to really involve their college communities in the EMP development process and approval process. So want to recognize all of your work there. Do we have the slide deck, or we can move to?
Sasha, can you bring up the slide deck?
Or we can get started. Okay, here we go. So I'm Kelsey Crossan, Senior Manager at West Ed. I'm here with my team, Lupita Alcala and Rachel Antrobus as well. And we would like to turn it over to the college presidents to have each of them present just at a high level their plans and the goals and some of their process. So can we start with you, President Johnson? I'm gonna mix up the order here.
All right, right back up. Well, I want to begin by acknowledging and thanking all of those who played such an integral role in the planning and drafting of the EMP, Academic Senate, Classified Senate, ASMC, and the leadership of our Institutional Effectiveness Committee. Now, Merritt College's EMP is both inextricably linked to the mission and is in alignment with the State Chancellor's Office and district priorities, which, as we know, around success, transfer, the move to reduce excess units that students take, increasing employment, and eliminating equity gaps, which adheres obviously to the Vision for Success framework with which we are all familiar. The EMP also incorporates the Peralta strategic principles of success, engagement and leveraging partnerships, building programs of distinction, raising accountability and managing resources. But in addition to those things specific to Merritt College, we went about the business of identifying 5 college community priorities. First was building a student-centered culture of caring, which involves assessing student needs, raising student awareness of available resources, supporting students as they navigate their educational journey. The second priority for us was making Merritt a true community college in the sense of not just being the college in the community, but being the community's college. We wanted to fortify our standing in the community we serve by building collaborative relationships with local organizations, create engagement opportunities with residents, and establishing development and fundraising sources from community partners. Our third community priority was to improve teaching and learning for student success. That involves a continuous and effective professional development training, increasing accountability through meaningful and straightforward evaluation processes, and utilizing technology for the delivery of instruction and student services. Two more. The fourth priority at Merritt College was college affordability, to increase low cost and zero cost course materials with the goal of every single section at Merritt College participating in that program, looking into ways to extending the campaigns of all four colleges with the free tuition incentives, as well as financial aid and grants to provide additional financial support. And finally, how can we reimagine the Merritt campus, modernize facilities, become a more green campus? Currently, we don't have vehicle charging stations, as for example. And the big thing, which has been discussed already, it's an ongoing thing, housing. For those who are prepared to take a tour of Lot B, I'm ready to get you on a golf cart so you can see what we have, but dealing with the housing insecurity of our students. So those were our 5 college community priorities for Merritt College.
Okay, I think I'll begin my comments much the way my colleague Dr. Johnson did, which is to really thank and appreciate the Laney College community. I think this is a document that truly belongs to all of us at Laney and is a product of a year and a half of retreats, listening sessions, work sessions, and a number of things that took place that really anybody who wanted to be part of the building of the master plan can say, yes, I own a piece of this and I participated. Really, what happened at Laney College in this kind of collective effort that went through our senates, went through our student government, and ultimately our college council, and then to me for approval, was that we began our conversation by revisiting our strategic goals and objectives and talking about those. And actually, it really was a fruitful discussion as 5 strategic goals actually became 6 and reflected our college's investment in the Guided Pathways Initiative around the state. From that, we came up with 5 areas of focus that we looked at. First, supporting students' achievements of their educational goals. Secondly, equitably meeting the range of student needs. And certainly this year, as we've looked at free college and looking at that initiative, that's something that has informed a lot of the discussion. Third, offering, especially with our great diversity of career programs, offering student and industry responsive curriculum and programs. And the fourth one, creating a culture of belonging and pride. Within our strategic goals and objectives, there are actually 2 of the 6 that speak to this, not only for our students, but our employees and our community, and something that we identified as a priority that spans 2 goals rather than 1. And then finally, recognizing always that we are stewards of public resources, having an infrastructure that supports student learning. And I think those were things that were something that they were all very important to the work that we did. And again, I extend my thanks to our colleagues at West Ed, as well as all in the Laney College community.
Right. So excellent. This work felt like a dissertation. So it was a lot of work. We started by doing the research. We're really glad that our dissertation chair was Rachel Entrobus, so she guided us. We looked up and down the state to see who has the most beautiful and most meaningful EMP. So we discussed how we're going to do that. We started the work last April. We made sure that every flex day that we had, being this fall flex, before the semester, mid-fall and spring, we dedicated to the EMP. So we can clearly state that this was an exploration and dialogue. And if I were to list all the people that contributed, we'll be here for a couple of hours because everybody touched this product. When push came to shove and we are in early January, we decided that a lot of faculty decided that they will use the holiday to work on the EMP. They came prepared during the flex to engage in more discussion. And we have met every college hour from January till last 2 weeks to emphasize this. So we went back and forth, but what we decided is, let's start from the mission and values. And let's look at the data that EMP provided for us, local data, regional data, industry data, market data, and let's see how our mission and values are aligned with the data. So we stayed truthful again to our ABCs, academic excellence, budgetary competency, and community engagement. Per each of the values in academic excellence, we define 2 goals. So we decided to go with 2 goals. And then per each of the goals, we went with some strategic action. So in academic excellence, we thought it was important to develop and offer innovative curriculum and learning that is rigorous and aligned with industry standard and labor market demands. Under academic excellence, again, we realized that in addition to innovative curriculum, we need innovative and effective services. So provide quality educational and student support services that result in equitable student access to educational opportunities and success in earning degree certificates with end goal of a living wage. Under budget competency, a goal will be to leverage existing resources, and we're getting resources in so many ways nowadays, to maximize academic opportunities for all students and provide accessible and inclusive physical and virtual learning environments that promote equitable academic excellence and are sustainable. Under budget competency goals, again, a value again is engage in transparent and data-driven decision-making and processes to best leverage resources to meet students' needs and future workforce and community demands. Under community engagement and partnership goals, we developed 2 other goals: foster an inclusive and caring culture that thrives on diversity. I had to joke. Years back, when I was working in EMP, we talked about respecting diversity. Then we embraced diversity. Now we decided that we're going to thrive on diversity. We're picky about words and promote social justice and equity. And the second goal under the community engagement and partnership is, unlike Oakland A's, we borrowed this from Oakland A's. We decided to be rooted in Alameda, be rooted in the community, and engage in ongoing partnership with our sister colleges, K-16 educational partners, community organizations, and local and regional industry partners. I had a smile when I'm talking about be rooted in community. Kelsey was asking, is it a quotation? Where did it come from? And our own writer, so if there is one person that I'll praise, the person that brought us all together was our EMP writer, Jody Campbell, professor of ethnic studies. And he said, this is my term. And I borrowed it from Oakland A's. I said, okay, we know the story of the be rooted in the community. So these are the goals. Another good thing we did is we'll continue to meet every Tuesday during the college hour, because for each of these goals, we went more specific in strategic actions. And those strategic actions will guide us furthermore so we can have some measurable outcomes and make this document a living and working document for the 5 years.
Thank you. Resonating with colleague presidents, I appreciate the hard and collaborative work that has taken place and continuing at BCC community. And special thank you to VC Vasconcellos to connect the dots between the colleges and in the district. And also West Ed colleagues. You have been wonderful in facilitating this process and then really patiently guiding us to really reimagine our future. So thank you for that. For BCC, we have as a framework and start to think about the future and then what's been transpiring here at community. We really also we have based our framework on the vision for success, board goals, and then priorities, and BCC accreditation recommendations, and then so that we can have a cohesive plan moving forward. But at the same time, we are painfully aware of the unknowns post-pandemic is providing us, and we felt a little bit differently about the way in which we planned for this EMP. So what we have started before the district-wide kickoff event happened last July 2022, we have really posed ourselves two large questions. And this is the starting point for the BCC's EMP. The first question that we asked us was, what would it look like for BCC to contribute to ending generational poverty in the local community? And then the second question that we asked ourselves was, what would it look like for BCC to reverse the impact of gentrification and support for local community members to continue to live in the area for the generations to come? And then those are the two primary grounding thoughts that we started off with, and then we started the work. And of course, we had ton of qualitative and then quantitative data, and then student focus groups, as well as survey results that concluded us to identify 8 primary strategic priorities. They are student completion, teaching and learning, data-informed process and innovations, community partnerships, human capital development, fiscal sustainability, diversity, equity, inclusion, and the global community, and advanced technology and facilities. We kicked off by identifying an EMP steering committee last September, and then that continued until April 2023 this year. And that is represented by each one of the constituency group members. And we have met on a regular basis, and then there's been a going out to the community to coming back feedback and including it, and then getting help, and then moving forward step by step. And as a result, the goals that we came up with is the ultimate goal is the equitable student completion. And to arrive at the space, we identified strategies for success. The first one is practice data-informed practice and innovation, and institutionalize culturally relevant professional development, invest in BCC vision and goals, advocate for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and then also secure strong community partnerships. And then how we identified out of that, how do we know that our goal is being achieved? The indicators for success are threefold. One is the student engagement and success. The second one is the responsive teaching and student support. And finally, inclusive community. And so we feel that we have a pretty good framework, but the fundamental questions are loud and clear today, also at the public comment on the student housing. I mean, those are the things that we are really continuing to make sure that we are thinking about and then serving the community. So that is our process and then a framework that we came up with at BCC. Thank you.
So while the district plan is not finished and we want to bring it to you and work with you in the board retreat coming up this summer, we did start a process, and it was important to start the process now because we've got West Ed with us and to work through the methodology and so forth, but also we have the colleges, and the chancellor had a great idea with a shift in the EMP process where the colleges create theirs, we create ours in support of the colleges. So what you've seen in the draft that you have, which is a very rough first level draft at this point, it talks a little bit about what the accomplishments over the last few years, our accreditation, our FICMET that we've addressed and so forth. Then it goes into the charrette that we did, which several of you actually attended, which was amazing. That focused on strengthening K-12 or K-16 pathways, sustaining sustainability in healthy college communities, strategic workforce partnerships, and expanding career education pathways, and improving community and college safety. So you'll see in the narrative of the district piece, what was lifted out of the conversations that were held during that day with all the different community members and also college community that were there. So I won't go into those right now, but then the next piece goes into the board goals. So the mission, obviously, the Peralta Community College mission is what grounds us and what drives us. Your board goals are related to that. And so we put your board goals in here along with key actions that are strategic actions that you've been working on moving forward over recently, and then with what you plan to do in the future. This is the piece that we really need to look at when we're coming together in July for the retreat to reorder, to sort of process and so forth. And then after that, there's a section that you're going to see on the district supports. So the district support section was written in 5 different areas: enrollment and retention, student equity and success, campus culture and climate, teaching and learning, infrastructure, and fiscal sustainability. So for this piece, what I did was I met with the different college campuses. They all had their own different processes. Some I went into group settings, some when I went to listening sessions, some I worked with the West Ed folks that were working with the teams and so forth. I read their plans, I looked at their goals, I asked questions to hear from them, to then figure out how we could develop district office supports in support of them achieving their goals. For instance, what can Ed Services do? What can my department and area do in support of achieving, the equitable outcomes that Cooney was talking about for BCC, for instance? How can DGS, General Services, support the infrastructure and the housing issues that we have going forward? How can we all work on and support DEIAA work? That's really critical. That's important to you as a board. That's important to the colleges, their communities, and to us, all the district personnel. And also bringing in, IT as far as infrastructure, looking at the student journey, which you've heard about recently, and how to improve access and onboarding for our students so they can access the classes that we actually have. Another area is the RAM. You guys have heard that we've changed our budget allocation model. And so the new model will go into place for 24-25. That development, though, and that growth needs to happen over next year. So writing in a piece on fiscal services is developing a calculator for this and to support the colleges, but then we'll also be sharing modeling, if you will, on what the colleges can expect within some level of reason, knowing that January, the budget comes out from the governor's office, may revise, it's all going to change, but so that they can start processing and enacting the new RAM, which means that more of the discretionary funding, more of the allocations are going to be the decisions on the local campuses. So just to conclude, this entire plan, the district piece, was written in support of the board goals, but also in support of achieving the college goals. Thank you.
Does the board have any questions, or we have one more summary, Christine?
Yes. So I attended a great event out at College of Alameda the other day, the groundbreaking for the new transportation center. And what concerns me is the data presented in your College of Alameda EMP says that the number of mechanics, auto transportation mechanics that it's going to be required by the year 2027 drops 2%. And what I don't understand is why you're not using the Center of Excellence method for figuring out the number of employees needed based on also retirements, which is a huge percentage in many of these trades. Because if I saw that minus 2% is going to be the number of mechanics we're going to need, it's going to go down by 2% as opposed to up. I would question why we just invested how many millions of dollars in the transportation center. Now, I think it's a great investment because we know we're going to need many people in new technologies and everything, but I'm just curious why you didn't use the Center of Excellence's method for calculating the number of employees we need.
So I'll let Wested discuss the data portion. But what the thought in my mind is that diesel department is moving there and all, energy efficient cars.
Right.
And that industry has seen a significant increase. And some of this labor market, and probably probably triangulating the data with the other way of calculating might bring better numbers. But when you look at ATEC, auto body and paint, and diesel mechanics, and we're looking at innovative curriculum, especially in the diesel part and even ATEC, I think it's a worthwhile investment.
Oh, I have no disagreement with that. I mean, I completely believe it's a fantastic investment in the future. But I'm just concerned, as somebody that used to do machine tech and writing a program review and trying to justify curriculum, if I presented these numbers that were going down by 2%, I would get a lot of questions of why we're asking for money and funding to increase our technology, to put investment in hiring new faculty, all the things we need to do to expand the program.
Yeah, I can't speak to why the particular, our team of researchers and economists have used the CAS MC data for a number of different environmental scans, but I think we can look into this approach definitely, and either replace or present both of the data analyses. So I think that's great input for us.
Thank you.
And just to put it into context, the idea first surfaced in 2008. So it's taken us 16 years where those funds have been earmarked for that particular department. And it also speaks to why we're taking the approach of looking at the college's plans so that the district can support those plans. And maybe 16 years ago, the projection was that we were going to need mechanics because there was an increase in the number of businesses and employees because of the change in the technology. And the old shade tree mechanic was no longer the primo vendor. You wanted something from a licensed certified. And so that was how that program started. And so the program kind of, provided the impetus for the facility. And again, I was, a number of years, almost 20 years ago, but I think that's also, and once we got started, that commitment was presented on an annual basis. We come to the board and do an annual report. And so that was why it went forward. But we do need to annually look at our facilities master plans to see if they align with where technology is now.
Right, and Dr. Jackson, I think it was an incredible investment, and I believe it will be an incredible investment for our community, for the students that are going to learn a trade there and get employment in a high-paying industry, and for the college. But I am just concerned that we have data sources that will justify the building, as opposed to saying that we're going to need 2% fewer mechanics 5 years down the road.
Thank you for pointing that out. And I think Kelsey's gonna look into that to compare our data sets with what data was presented in the plan. And I'm so glad you caught that. That means you read it.
Trustee Withrow?
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that I think that the 4 documents, the college documents and the strategic plan were all extremely good, well done from the standpoint of both depth and coverage, and gives the my colleagues and myself the kind of information that we need to work in the community, to do what we're supposed to be doing in terms of making what we do meaningful and understood within the community so that we can get our enrollment back up again. I would like to request that the chancellor, if she could, before the next meeting, have a printed copy of each of these so that we have something other than on the computer here. Very meaningful documents. Thank you very much.
We can do that. I'm kind of catching Tina's over the shoulder of Dr. Rami, but we could absolutely do that. We'd like to have it so that it has the signatures on it. So if you want a draft copy, which is what this is right now, because if you have comments or questions, you know, the president's, I'm sure will take that information back. And then we would have a final copy of theirs, which would be printed with signatures on it. And of course, we can distribute it. But if you'd like to read it beforehand on hard copy, is that what you're asking, Trustee Withrow?
Whichever way is the most feasible to you. I don't care whether it says draft on it or not. It's the information that is written into the documents that's important to me.
All right, thank you. We'll get you a printed copy. Is there any other board member that, you know, would prefer it in hard copy? Okay.
So I just have one other question. When you looked at your demographics based by education, a significant population, I think, was left out, and that's the percentage of our community that does not have high school degrees or GEDs. Just in our Peralta district, based on what our adult education group has done in terms of studies and reports, I think that number just in our district, not Alameda County, it's around 12%. I have the data for Alameda County, I just couldn't find it right now. But to me, that's a significant percentage of our population that we should be addressing, because the district is actively engaged with adult education, and it's also a potential area for growth for us. So if we're doing master planning over the next 5 years, I think we have to look at all of our opportunities for growth.
Thank you, and thanks for all the work that went into this, for all involved. I just wanted to really acknowledge Berkeley City College for centering those two areas, ending generational poverty and reversing the impact of gentrification, and focusing the plan around those two areas. And I can see it throughout the plan. I can see it in the way that you talk about very specifically increasing enrollment, you know, for AAPI, Black African American, Latinx, and adult learners, or the way that you talk about increasing the number of Black African American students who complete a certificate degree or transfer, and the very clear successes that you've laid out, versus just like saying equity generally. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that, and I think it's a recipe for success. I wonder about Merritt College. There was a negative 19%, a drop of 19% in Black African American enrollment between 2018 and 2022-23, if I read that correctly. And I'm wondering if you can speak to the areas of your plan that really get to that.
That is a very timely question. So I would say part of that is a reflection of just the changing demographics in Oakland. We have some specific things that were just recently proposed in terms of targeting African-American student population. Number one was to hire a counselor, someone in counseling who would focus specifically on Black student success and outreach. I'm reading from a thing that we just came up with Monday at 4:38 p.m. The second thing was to hire a Black student success coach or retention specialist. I mean, that's something, one of my former districts, we use retention specialists quite effectively. The third thing we're trying to do is we're considering developing a summer bridge program. So those are helpful in terms of attracting and onboarding folks. This may cost a little bit of money, but Professional Development Day professional development activities are very effective. So there are two superstars in the state. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Frank Harris, Luke Wood. You guys know those guys? I see some nods. So we can do maybe use some of our HSI money, because part of the purpose of HSI is to also support students of color in general. We had a program over a decade ago. It was called the Maximum Achievement Project, or MAP. I don't know if anyone's, okay, Dr. J remembers that. So maybe looking into bringing that back. I mean, the threshold to be what was called a PBI, or predominantly Black institution, was a 40% student population for African Americans. Obviously, we don't meet that threshold, but there might be some other things that we can do to still address the needs of our African American students, as well as working through our Sankofa program, which many of you all know around the state as Umoja. Since you asked, just a couple more things. Providing embedded tutors specifically to address the needs of African American students. Having an in-person fall orientation that's targeted to incoming African American students. And again, going back to strengthening current program and learning communities that serve African American students. So that's specifically Sankofa at Merritt College.
President Johnson, may I jump in really quick?
Who's that?
It's me.
Okay. Go
Steph.
ahead, Steph.
I just wanted to add that one of the exciting things that Chancellor Jackson had us get into was that we are going to be a regional hub for HBCU transfer. And so that's something that Tina and I are working on with the group down at El Camino College. They came up, we have an advisory committee that's made up across 4 colleges in the district. And so we look forward to really focusing on HBCU transfer for our students who are interested. And I'm looking at a president who went to an HBCU.
Till I couldn't afford it anymore. So Lisa Webb, I want to give her some credit, our Dean of Counseling at SEA. She's the one that's kind of spearheading this. So I would be remiss if I didn't give her credit. But yeah, thank you, Steph, for jumping in.
Sorry, your document is almost 100 pages long. So I was looking for it. Is there, and I'm wondering about this for the colleges, do you all have each of the colleges like a increase by demographic goal? So increase, African American students, increase Latinx students over a certain baseline?
Yeah, I don't think in terms of the increasing the demographic. I believe in our EMP and maybe in all the other EMPs, we have goals in terms of success and how we want to improve there. Maybe want to.
Yeah, as Dr. Johnson mentioned, I think a lot of our focus looking at the State Chancellor's Office Vision for Success with our KPIs, key performance indicators, what we have is looking at basically success, completion and success goals among disproportionately impacted groups. And essentially that's been used as a measure of success. And that's really where a lot of the emphasis in our plans, especially towards student success, lie.
This work will guide our strategic plan when we're going to go in depth for each of the goals. We have strategic action, and this is where we'll have that baseline, and we'll also have what percentage increase from year to year so we can compare, because we need those measurable outcomes aligned with vision for success if we were to say that we shifted the needle, but that will be the next step to go into those specific measurable outcomes. So we wanted to keep this at the high level, and now going into the strategic plan for 3 years and go into depth across all the demographic groups where we are behind. Yeah.
Speak from it.
Just to follow up on that, in most of the master plans and in our district strategic master plan, which I understand isn't quite finished yet, but I did not see targeted areas of growth, percentages in growth, trying to increase our numbers, which I think is one thing we really have to talk about if financially we're going to be solvent in 3 or 4 years or 2 years, even when hold harmless ends. That and increasing our enrollments is really critical in the next 2 years. And I don't know if it's something that's usually not done in master plans. It seems like it would be a master planning issue. And how we're dealing with trying to attack that important issue.
I could help answer. Lupita Alcala, one of the slides on our presentation, included that this is sort of the North Star for each of the colleges. And this plan will help inform the implementation plan through their other enrollment plans, equity plan, facilities, and technology. And that's where the implementation, the strategy, and the measurable goals will go. So this is sort of the high level master plan, mother, North Star, if you want to call it. And then this plan helps inform the implementation plan that you're looking for, you're thinking about, that'll go into the enrollment strategic plans and the facilities, equity, and technology that they also have to develop. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Very informative.
Madam President, before we move to item 5.2, could we go back to 4.1 for a moment, please? This was the board policy review, administrative procedures.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm just noting on the administrative procedure on budget management. Two things. One is it looks like the draft policy is taking us from a mandated 10% reserve to about a 16% reserve, something in that range. What is our current reserve? What's been our reserve for the last couple of years? What's the percentage?
We're actually just right under that right now.
Okay, so we're basically aligning the policy with what we have been doing, but I think it would be just noteworthy. This is a significant increase in the requirement. The other thing is that the referred budget board policy 6250 is actually incorrect. The one that's on the website is actually not policy we adopted. If you go to the April meeting, April 23rd meeting of 2019, we'd actually had a debate in the board at that time. And the specific part that is not correct is that what's written on the policy that's printed on the website says that if we fall below 10%, that we have a plan to get it back to 10% in 1 year. And that's actually not true. If you look at the board policy, we actually adopted that 1 year was struck. And we had a debate in the board meeting, in the prior board meeting when we did the original draft. And the theory was, if you're struggling in a fiscal crisis and now you're down and you've invested to get back, so you're deficit spending, and you do that intentionally because, as we know, fiscal austerity plans often do the worst possible thing. You're already down. And so then you cut all your investments and things and you can't get yourself back. And so removing the 1 year gave the administration and the board more flexibility. Of course, if we can get it back in 1 year, but it wasn't mandated.
What was the date on that you did that?
April 23, 2019. And if you look at the draft policy there, it's referencing that date. If you go back to that date and you look at the actual document we voted on, it wasn't that. And this then raises for me this question, because this is the second time this year I have found a board policy either completely missing from the website or just wrong. And so I think we're going to need to review our practice for getting what we vote on correctly on our website. This is a pretty significant mistake. It's just the wrong policy, and it's just a couple words, but it has pretty big impact. Anyway, so please do go back and look at that. And then Chancellor, if you can just look into that operational question.
If I may,
sure, go ahead, Dr. Drucker.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out the reason the AP, I'm sorry, Chancellor, did you, okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to point out that the reason this AP came up regarding the 2 months is because we applied for the emergency conditions hold harmless. This was a requirement of that. And so this was the way this CCCO put a string. They also put a couple of other strings on this hold harmless, which we were already working on. But this is a requirement for us to continue with that hold harmless.
Thank you. And I think the administration had explained that in a prior board
Okay.
meeting at some point. And so
Yeah.
that was less of a concern to me than one that we take note. This is a significant substantive change in the limit, but also kind of more importantly, the board policy isn't correct, the one that's printed. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just going to add that the reason that there's a significant rise is the state board of governors have for years been discussing and threatening that they were going to make a change and make it something somewhere around 16-17%. And so rather than doing that in negotiation with the CEOs Association at the state level, this was the recommendation for future grants. That way, some colleges can't make that. So they're not eligible to get those additional funds that Dr. Drucker was talking about. But on statute, it still says 5%. We changed it ourselves to 10%. That did not come from the state. And now what the state is saying, they haven't changed it from 5%. But what they're saying, if you're going to be eligible for any of these additional funds, block grant funds, improvement funds, et cetera, then you're going to have a reserve of 2.5. So that's the reason why we went forward with it. There's significant dollars out there that we want to be able to be eligible for.
Thank you.
President Delphine Polk, I noticed that VC Jones has his hand up.
Oh, thank you very much. VC Jones, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I just want to reiterate some of the points that Dr. Jackson and Dr. Joker indicated. The state has been signaling this change, and this was an opportunity for them to demonstrably make it such that we needed to increase our reserve policies. And the drivers of this are numerous. Number one, with the increase of fires and other kinds of disasters, there needed to be a growing recognition that the reserve levels and the state needing to provide additional funding because of the inadequate reserves level had been increasing. And so they use this as an opportunity, tying it to the emergency condition allowance approval to create a carrot for many institutions to on their own change their policy regarding reserve level. The other point that I wanted to address to Trustee Ewan's comment is that we are at that requirement. So there is no need for additional investment in order to meet that threshold. We are already at the 2 months of operating costs at the current level of $25.5 million. We also, in our planning and budget committee, have discussed the need to actually develop a reserve utilization and refunding administrative procedure, which we're going to identify a task force and work on developing that for future consideration for the Board of Trustees. So, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Reese?
Chancellor and all. I think the problem is not with all of these things and the changes that are articulated in this current policy. There's only one particular problem. So it has nothing to do with what the state chancellor's office is doing or going to do. So I think that that's not where the issue is, as explained by a couple individuals. It's just that in this current board policy, which is published and which is actually revised, the within 1 year is actually wrong, because in 2019, we agreed, we approved the stipulation without that within 1 year. And so I think that that's it. Everything else is not problematic. It's just that within 1 year, which is wrong. So, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that all the other explanations were fine, were okay. It's just that within the 1 year.
Any other questions on this? Okay, great, thank you. We will now move to our second presentation, 5.2, Public Safety and Security Update. Do we have, I see Director Thomas here.
Good evening, Trustee Delphine Polk, Board of Trustees, and Chancellor Jackson. It is my pleasure to introduce the Director of Public Safety, Tim Thomas. I would like to say that Tim came on into DGS, into Peralta, and in November 10/21. It's with the leadership of the Chancellor and the support of DGS. It's taken both the Chancellor and myself to keep up with Tim Thomas, because you will see all of the things that he has accomplished in the very short time. Tim will go over his training that he's done with public safety, health and safety issues that exist in the district, theft, burglary, and vandalism, as many of you know, customer service focus, and also the establishment of the district-wide safety committee. So again, I introduce Director Tim Thomas.
Thank you, Ivy C. Smith.
Thank you, and good evening, Board President Polk, members of the board, Chancellor Jackson, and college presidents, students and guests. Today, we'll be giving a public safety update to the board. Next slide. There we go. Originally was hired on November 15th, 2021. We came to the board, an initial 90-day assessment that was presented to the board on February 22nd, 2022, and we came with some recommended solutions. We're happy to say that we were able to accomplish all of our implementations throughout the district, and I kind of want to go over some of them. Here's some of the highlights of some of our implementation that we've had in the district. First, establishing the reporting mechanism, which are DARs, stands for Daily Activity Report. And what these reports actually do, they're disseminated once a security guard finds something that we're looking at on our training, which have to do with vandalism, locking a door, these type of things that occur on our campuses each day. That information is then disseminated into our Clarity Report, which is then used for data. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we move a little bit further. Clarity Report software, we were able to purchase ARMS, which is our Automated Reporting Management Systems. It is something that we are able to abstract data and put data into a format to produce our ASR report, which we come to the board each year and talk about annual security report. That information comes from our ARMS data that we use to contract this data. Training of security staff, marina security. We've been able to cover a lot of training, and we'll be able to show on our a few of our slides some of the training that highlights state and federal regulation guidelines, as well as implementation of roles and responsibility and how we respond during emergency situations. Internal staff training of safety teams. We've been at all the safety team meetings throughout the district and been able to hear some of the exigent things that are going on with these safety teams at the campuses, and being able to put in preventative implementations, working with the colleges to provide a safe environment for our faculty and our students. Implementation of proposed district-wide safety committee, which is ongoing as we're looking at increasing and looking at all of our emergency operation procedures, our flip charts, and also how this information is disseminated to our leadership. Next slide. Major areas of focus when we came to the district, looking at our daily activity report, and you see I kind of broke it down into a few of our, I say, top 5. And first I'll start with theft and burglary. Really on the DARs, really this kind of pops out to us and gives us a abstract, and not only what the measurement from a metric system of security is doing on our campus on an 8-hour shift, but also giving us an understanding on the things that we need to work on. And those things come on the DAR, and it highlights theft and burglary, also highlights vandalism. And when we look at vandalism, this is being that our campuses are open and we get people to pass through all the time. This is one, two of the things that really pop out to us that we really try to work with the colleges on vandalism, and that's graffiti removal within a 24-hour period. We try to work with cleanup as far as on trash and removal in our parking lots and so on. So these are some of the things that we look at of a major area of focus. Preventative measures, you see some of the things that moving forward, what we put in to really kind of look at the implementation of decreasing the activity of potential crime on our campus. And so you'll see some of those things. Customer service training with our staff on roles and responsibilities on what a security guard should do in an emergency situation, and also how we engage with our students, engage with our faculty when we're going to a scene of an incident. Automated report management system, Claire, as I talked about previously, and also training of security staff and district-wide safety committee. Next slide. So this is kind of a highlight, just looking at some of the things that I was previously talking about on the daily activity report. As you can see in the lower left hand corner, that is an example of the daily activity report that comes out. That report is used for us to look at what violations that occurred on the campus. And what I'm meaning by violations, meaning that doors that were unlocked, that were checked, windows that were secured and checked, activity that we've seen on campus, all those things are logged in the DAR. Those things are then disseminated and transferred into our Clary data system, which then produces our annual security report, which is to the right-hand side. You'll see moving down a little bit on our report, the implementation of preventative measures. When we have the information from the DAR, it gives us an understanding of how many times a building has been checked. If we had a burglary that occurred at 2 o'clock in the morning, I can go to the DAR report and I can actually look and see who checked that building, how long it was checked, and when the last time it was checked after this incident. So the DARs really give us a real understanding of, I like to say, a real crime recurrence. And we used to look at crime differently a long time ago, looking at UCR codes, and those are uniform reporting. And that just gave us an indication of something happened, but it didn't give us a time. It didn't give us, when it happens, quite frequently when it happens. And so now when we look at NIBRS, which is a system that we use as a tool tracking, which is National Incident-Based Reporting System, it gives us a real-time occurrence. And what I mean by real-time occurrence is that if we have a crime that is happening between 5 and 7, the preventative measures that we can do is putting a guard in that time from 5 to 7. And that way you'll be able to see if the time had moved, if the crime had moved, and I like to call it looking at it being an effective crime manager. So when you're looking at some of these reports and these tools, these are some of the tools that we use as preventative, to try to use predictive analytics to predict or hypothesize what we think a crime is going to occur in our campus or around our campus. Next slide. So here's some pictures that really show some real positivity of what we've been able to do in a short time, as VC Smith indicated. There are lights, there's training, and really this is really important because about a year ago, there was a presentation that was done to the board, and I was listening and really wanted to come in here and look at some things that were really a highlight focus. And the students highlighted 3 things that really stood out to me when I was listening to the presentation that was presented to the board. They said it was parking lots, overhangs, and buildings. And those 3 things that they highlighted, we really took an emphasis on really trying to address safety, really trying to address some of the areas of concern, and being able to work with DGS, also the college presidents over looking at some of these implementations of things that our students had spoken about. We really took a really exigent approach and stance to really improving some of the things that you're seeing now in these pictures, which are lights. You'll see the cameras are operational. We're looking at visibility on campus according to the lights, training and personnel, DAR activity reports, and also attending safety meetings at the campuses. looking at our campuses with some of these implementations, we were really able to look and see how different our campus look at night, and it actually feels safe and looks good, and you can see the clear paths. So we want to thank DGS and for really taking on this challenge with us, as is one of our happy accomplishments that we really are happy about. And in anything, we're looking at safety. Lights prevent people from doing things in dark. We know that when it comes to a dark campus, people like to do mischief. And with the lights being at the campuses, we're very happy that we've been able to bring our crime to absolutely zero on burglary. So we are extremely happy about that. And we'll share some of the data from when I first started about a year ago on the data. Next slide. Here's some of our campus and community involvement and cleanup efforts. And we really, on this picture that really stands out, you can see the before picture. That is actually adjacent right across the street from the student parking lot. And so we really use all of our resources. When I say resources, meaning working with the city of Oakland, working with Laney College, the leadership, working with DGS, our engineers, on really getting out there and putting the broom and trying to clean up this area. We have been able to try to implement a goal of 24-hour graffiti removal. It's working with Laney College and their leadership, and as well as Director Amy Marshall at Laney. Really would like to thank her and her staff as well for all the diligent help that they gave us in the cleanup efforts in the parking lot, and also just helping with the logistical part of the cleanup. And so it kind of just shows kind of the pictures of some of the things that we're looking at and improving on our cleanup efforts in our community. Next slide. Parking lot safety. Looking at our parking lot safety, some of our highlights that we really want to highlight in this area is that we were having crime every day in this parking lot. Looking at a lot of the statistical data from this parking lot has given people challenges in this parking lot. And so we were really trying to figure out how to really combat some of the things that we were doing in the parking lot, and really working with our neighbors, our community leaders. We were able to really work and be heard on some of the issues that we were having in this parking lot. And looking at it from a strategy standpoint, we implemented a different security strategy in this parking lot, more visibility and implementation in this parking lot, partnering with Oakland Neighborhood Services, but also using NIBRS, as I previously talked about before, as a tool, increased foot patrol, and putting people in areas where crime was occurring, using these tools, increased mobile patrol, more visibility, and also meeting with law enforcement strategies in our area to talk about some of the things that we're combating, as well as in our community. So being able to address our concerns as well was also good for us in this setting. Next slide. Burglaries. Kind of talked about this before on the DERs, and some of the things that we looked at coming in. We wanted to look at common practices versus uncommon practices. And some of the things that we found from the DER logs was a highlight on locking doors. We really thought that if we could get a control and the gist on locking doors, we could bring down the burglaries a substantial amount. As you look in fourth quarter from the graph, you will see that's when we first started the implementation of our program. And as you can see, the burglaries are all the way through the roof. And one of the things that really helped bring those numbers down was just simply locking doors. Also, increased foot patrol, putting people in these areas of concern on our campuses on time, real-time occurrences on some of these burglaries. A notification to the colleges of unsecured buildings, getting the information to the colleges in a timely manner. And I always like to explain the difference between timely notification and emergency notifications. And there's two big differences. And timely notifications is when something has already happened and we're putting in the measurements to prevent it from reoccurring. That's timely notifications. And emergency notifications is when we're preventing something from happening by putting in the structure, the processes, and then talking about the safety teams. And so those two themes are different. And so we really want to look at, when we say notifications to the colleges, when an incident occurs, the colleges get those reports subsequently right after the incident occurs. Work orders, broken locks and repairs. These are things that stand out on the DOR. And so we really send these messages to the colleges for work orders and repairs, and then following up with the colleges on work order repairs from our DOR sheet. So we've been able to look and contract. And as you can see, we've worked with the colleges and done very, very, very well. And you can see the numbers on the graph. And so we thank the leadership of Laney College and the folks that are behind the scenes that really helped us implement this and bring those numbers down. Safety awareness and safety workshops. We've been doing a lot of training throughout the district on safety workshops and awareness, and really engaging. And I call it the 3 E's: engage, empower, and equip. And we were at the first phase of engaging. So we want to get out there and shake hands, kiss babies, and talk to folks and see how the campuses are moving and really hear some of the suggestions. And I'm talking about complaints of safety and things that people don't normally usually talk about. We want to hear those things. So we've been out to campuses at the workshops, establishing that relationship. Next slide. Vandalism. I kind of previously spoke on vandalism. As you can see again in the pie chart, when I highlight that, you can see the numbers extremely high in the fourth quarter of 2021, and moving down into the graph, you can see first quarter of 2023, the number is extremely low. Now the vandalism that we're looking at, again, is tracked on the DR, but again, these reports that are official, they're taken and they're sent to the colleges. Once they're sent to the colleges, most of the vandalism that we're dealing with currently now is graffiti. So we're working, with the city on trying to get them to help us with graffiti removal on some of the exterior points that you see on the campus that are considered off campus. So we're really working on some of those issues, and we really hope to really get that stuff removed here soon. Working with our community stakeholders again, OPD, Neighborhood Watch, really hearing the concerns. We will be found out really going to some of these meetings and having some of the stakeholders come to our meetings, is that we all have the same issues in this area. And so we're working together to really combat these issues. And right now, we're doing really, really well. As you can see, the numbers are really, really low. And so we want to keep those numbers there as we continue with our safety measures. Next slide. Here is just some pictures that kind of show some of the vandalism that we've dealt with on the campus, and highlight broken window, little graffiti there, some boxes and different things. And so these are some of the things that we've dealt with. People destroying the classrooms and the burglaries, the graffiti, and some people have been apprehended in some of these incidents. But really, really partnering with our municipalities to establish a relationship on how to prevent these things from occurring on our campus, and then a process. So when these things do occur on our campus, how we go about addressing these issues, and then also educating our community and also safety teams. Next slide. Trespassing. Really, this trespassing was a real major issue for us on our clarity report that we sent out each month. And the clarity report really highlights some of the categories of clarity, but not all of them. And the reason why those are not on there is because we really want to show some of the main focal issues in bringing our numbers down. And trespassing was one of them. And trespassing, meaning that we couldn't get people off the campus. People would not leave. People refused to stay on the campus. And so at that time, we had to go on different protocols to customer service people off of our campus. And a lot of times that we were dealing with different individuals that might be suffering from a mental health issue based on some of the things that were said, the crime in front of us at the time, and so on. And so really wanted to focus on mental health first aid training, on de-escalation, how we can effectively talk to folks who might be in a dysregulated moment on our campuses. And so after putting in some of the training that I previously described, you can see some of the numbers that are extremely low. We went from over 20 trespasses on our campus down to absolutely about 5 a month. So that is extremely, extremely well with security, and very, very happy about that accomplishment. De-escalation training, one of our favorite trainings is roles and responsibilities training, and really we're taking this roles and responsibilities training to another height this summer, really doing scenario-based training. We have now trained our security how to identify what crime looks like, what prohibited behavior looks like. And so we're taking this to another level of doing scenario-based training on critical incidents that occur within our campus. And also community awareness. We really want to be transparent with our community, want to be transparent with events that occur so that we can get the information out in a timely process and also timely notifications to our community so that we can address and be preventative about any issues that may arise moving forward. Next slide. Arson. Kind of want to, really talk about, a little bit, the arson was really, really extremely high when we looked at this about a year ago. One of the things that was one of our challenges was flammable trash cans within our campus. And usually during COVID, those trash cans were used to keep warm. They wasn't charging, meaning the police departments were not charging people for, lighting fires and trash cans. So it was something that most of the people used in the community to stay warm during that time. And so really looking at eliminating flammable trash cans has helped. And that's working with Director Amy Marshall over at Laney to look at our vulnerabilities on our trash cans that can really prevent this behavior from occurring. As you can see in some of the pictures, these were some of the arsenal fires that were set at Laney College. And looking at the graph, you will see the high number in arson as we move down to a lower number in arson now. Again, identifying prohibited behaviors and looking at increased visibility in isolated areas where arson can occur. A lot of that is mainly patrol and looking at our patrol strategies, and we've been able to effectively use our tools to put guards in those places to bring down those numbers. Next slide. Preventive measures that are in progress. Currently, we're still working with our district-wide camera project. It is going extremely well. We are looking time to close out the camera project, and we've been using those cameras a lot. And so they've worked with us on a lot of preventative issues that we've had here in the district, and we're very happy about that. Keyless entry, DGS and employee badging. That'll be it's ongoing. That is something we're working with DGS to bring down to the board a further presentation on keyless entry and employee badging. Working on workshops and safety meetings at all the sites. This is really, really important in the workshops, and I just want to harp on this just a little bit. We've been able to accomplish a lot with our safety teams at the district and all the campuses, and really emphasizing training. I would like to say Berkeley College, and I say woohoo Berkeley College, because Berkeley College is one of the only safety teams throughout the district that has really advanced themselves, meaning they've done all of the training that was required that we put out this spring 2023. So the leadership at Berkeley, President Garcia and VP Brooks, I want to thank them for really driving the safety on that campus, and us being out there and engaging with them. So we've had a great time out there at Berkeley. Looking and working with our Merritt Cadet program with Dr. Stacy Thompson, Chancellor Jackson, Anthony Jones, President Johnson, and also Midget Lewis on really revamping and getting that cadet program up and running. I've been on the ground and really recruiting students. I've been at municipalities, really trying to recruit cadets to bring them to our district to really drive the process and getting young men and young women that want to go out and do public service. My message to the young people is that you don't have to be a police officer. You can just learn customer service, and it's a good profession. We have a great program and really trying to really drive that process on the ground. So we know there's a lot of work to do, but we're on the ground recruiting and really starting to the young people that really want to do the job. And that's our ROTC programs of Oakland Unified School District, our municipalities that have community service cadets, really attracting those young men and women to our district to really fulfill our program and our needs. And so we're hoping with some of the legislative advocacy funding for the state, we're hoping that we can get some money to really jumpstart that program. So we're keeping our fingers crossed moving forward. Next slide. And here's one of our preventative measures and escorting students and staff. And really, this is another accomplishment for us. We really took ownership of this escorting students. And it was one that came off of the presentation that was presented to the board, parking lots, buildings and overhangs. And we really wanted to establish a program that was already here. And the program I'm referring to was the Merritt Cadet program. Merritt Cadet program was a program that really did escorts, helped faculty to the cars. They did a lot of the things that we wanted to implement. And so we were able to implement an escort service. And as you can see in the fourth quarter, many people weren't using it. So we wanted to get out and drive the process. We drove the process, and you can see the numbers. We're doing about 150, 200 throughout our district. And that is for our students that want to get to class from the parking lot. Also our staff that are calling after hours that would like to be escorted to their car. So we've been able to really increase that number and engage into our staff. And that's a high number, 150 students almost a month through our district. So we want to thank DGS for helping us get the golf carts to provide this service, but also the staff of really initiating and calling us to escort them to their vehicles. Next slide. Customer service, visibility, and professionalism. This slide right here is really, really important. And this really highlights a lot of the training that has already been done. We really wanted to find words of the acronym that kind of describe what we were trying to do as a team. And we came up with engage, empower, and equip. And really looking at the engaging part is where we are now. And that is just getting out again, engaging this training, really being able to show by not only our numbers, I can say numbers, turning words into numbers and numbers into words, but also being able to have evidence-based. And so all of the training that you're seeing here is the training that Marina Security has done in quite some time, over 15 months. And so we're really, really happy about this training. As you can see on the last one, the NORCAN training, we've just added that to this PowerPoint, and Berkeley, again, was one of the very first colleges to complete NORCAN training. So we're really happy and pleased about where we are as far as in our training. Next slide. Back one. Right. District-wide Safety Committee. This committee took us a little time to get started. And the committee has now been running. We've been meeting twice a month in the committee, being able to establish who we are, our identity. We're currently really working on a few things, and kind of wanted to go into a few things that we're working on. First, we're working on a behavioral chart process of how we handle a student that's going through a mental health crisis, the process. What does it look like? What do we do? And so we're looking at drafting a behavioral chart that would give a staff member resourceful information if they saw a person going through a dysregulated moment. This chart would be able to help you and give you that information. We're also working on establishing our identity, what our focal point and what our mission would be moving forward with this group. And so we're using all of our resources that are in this group, and there's some powerful minds that meet in this group. And so we really want to engage and really try to use all of our collaborative efforts to continue getting feedback from this group. Our next meeting is going to be May 11th, 2023 at 11 a.m. And it'll be our last meeting before we go on the summer break. But one of the main things that really I want to highlight from this group is we were able to have our first mental health first aid training on April 20th we had at Laney College. It went from 9 to 4. And we really want to thank Alameda County Behavior Healthcare Services for really bringing that training to us here at Laney, and hope to bring 2023, the fall, the same training for our students to be able to experience the training. And it really highlighted signs and symptoms. I think the training from the folks that came to the training, they had a great time. We had 2 administrators, so we thank you for your time. And it was a good turnout. We thank Director Amy Marshall for helping with the logistical parts of that. But our team really got a good evaluation out of it. And so we're going to be sending out surveys to really collect the impactfulness and what it really meant to the people that attended. And so we'll be able, hopefully in the next board meeting, we'll be able to share some of that information that came from the people that attended. But moving forward, we really want to tackle mental health first aid in fall 2023. We've been able to have a training facility out at Alameda, College Alameda, to be able to captivate this training. And so we hope to have marina security fully trained by July in mental health first aid, 100% compliance around the board, as they're going to be our first people to interact with any engagement of anyone been on our campus that might be suffering from a dysregulated moment. So we really want to, highlight mental health first aid, that it's going to be a point of emphasis moving forward in fall 23 on our campuses and also with our security staff. Next slide. Here's a highlight of March training calendar. And the highlight, we send these out to the colleges 2 months at a time. And these training calendars highlight the training that marina security is also receiving, but it also includes everything that we're doing for the month and our focal point. And so the colleges get these training calendars, and the colleges at this time can now circumvent their team on the training calendar on the day's availability for them. And so we've made it where college staff can now, and also our college safety teams can now do training during the week at their own time. We offer training Monday through Thursday, CPR and first aid, and we'll be also offering mental health first aid 1 day a week for also all Peralta employees as well to get a certificate. So that is something that when an employee sees the training calendar, they have 2 months to carefully advance and plan if they want to do the training. We just wanted to make sure that we're public servants and we work for you. So we want to make sure that we're available for you when you have time to do the training. And that was something that we really wanted to emphasize on the 3 words that I call them the 3 E's: engage, empower, and equip. Next slide. And it's another illustration of example of April 2023 training calendar that kind of shows the training. As you can see, mental health first aid is being offered every Friday like a movie, I like to say. And so we really want to get those seats filled, and we really want to drive that process on how important mental health first aid is. And so just looking on the training calendar, you can see that it's a big emphasis of importance in our training moving forward with our staff and also our faculty. Next slide. Here's a student safety video. Before we get into planning student safety video, I know we've had new board members that are here now, and you may not have saw the safety video before, but we want to thank Executive Mark Johnson and his staff for putting together our first safety video. Now, we put together this safety video. I spoke with Mark Johnson and I said, Mark, we got to put together stuff and it got to look good. And I said, Mark, can we do it? And Mark said, yeah. And usually when Mark puts his hands on things, it always turns out great. So I want to thank Mark Johnson, Executive Mark Johnson, for that. Also, Angel and Hunter for the commentary in the background on our video. So we just kind of want to just play just a little bit. We've used this video for safety workshops. We've used this video for training. We've used this video also for our student programs and going out with our men's football team and so on. We use this video also for active shooter training. So this video has been quite handy, and we're using it and we're very happy about it. So if we can, let's just play just about 30 seconds of it so we can get a feel of it.
This message will cover safety tips and what you can do to keep yourself safe both on and off campus. Personal safety. Always be alert of your surroundings and people around you, especially if you're alone or it's dark. When it's possible, travel with friends or classmates, even during daylight hours. Walk confidently, directly, at a steady pace, and be sure to stick to well-lit areas. If you feel you're being followed, quickly get to an area where others are around. If you're in immediate danger, scream or yell loudly. If you're unable to scream or yell, use a whistle, make a commotion, do whatever it takes to attract attention to yourself. Trust your instincts. If it doesn't look or feel right, it might not be. Property safety. Never leave your property unattended. When you're in a classroom, library, cafeteria, anywhere at all, take your property with you, even if you're stepping away for just a moment. Keep your things within sight and reach at all times. If you ride a bicycle to campus, make sure you lock it with a reliable bike lock or a heavy chain and padlock. Secure it properly to a bicycle rack. Do not lock your bike in doorways or stairway railings. Do not leave valuables, things like laptops, books, tablets, uniforms, or jewelry in your vehicle. Vehicle safety. Always lock your car and take your keys with you. Be sure all your windows are rolled up and secure. Do not leave valuables within sight in your car, including removable stereo and GPS systems. Never leave items containing your name or address in your vehicle. Lost and found. To report lost property or property you found, contact the Peralta Public Safety Switchboard at 510-466-7236. If you find property off campus, please contact your local police department's non-emergency.
And that's a quick synopsis of our safety video. And this video is used in all of our safety workshops that we've done in the district. Are there any questions?
VP Quinlan?
So excellent presentation and excellent work. The question I have, and this Chancellor and maybe Mark, you can answer this. Violence pretty much markets itself. How do we market safety on our campuses? Because it's an important issue in trying to bring people back, especially at Laney and some of our other campuses. And I think we need to let the community know that, you know, this issue is being addressed in a very positive way in our campuses.
Well, I can say, sir, one of the main things is promoting it and really, driving the process of engaging. And I think you have to do that by getting on the ground. And I've used some of my resources from the leadership of Laney, President Besikoff, and really getting to the community, hearing the community resources in our community that they have the same issues that we're having. So I think first people have to see us, hear us, and then be able to see down the road how things look by using our resources that we have.
If I could just echo one thing that Director Thomas said, part of our efforts at Laney have been not just safety on campus, but in the community. And Director Thomas has been great about starting the conversation around our neighborhood, quite frankly, with Oakland Chinatown and a lot of their efforts. He and I both actually attended an event they put on. And then also we've enlisted the cooperation of the Oakland Museum of California as well. And just appreciate Director Thomas for the collaboration and leadership with that.
Trustee Gonzalez-Wynn.
Director Thomas, thank you for the presentation. And I want to say that as a board member who was here when we voted to cancel the sheriff's contract, we didn't quite know how hard it was going to be. The entire country was exploding in protest and outrage after the murder of George Floyd. And we were trying to figure out, like, all right, there's got to be a different way of doing policing. And I don't think we quite understood how challenging it was. And so you walked into a job, frankly, that was brand new. It was blank slate. Chancellor Jackson, thank you for kind of taking the final steps to bring Director Thomas on. We had some struggles with just trying to find appropriate people to apply who were qualified, licensed, wanted to do the job, et cetera. So whatever grief you might get, well, all right, it comes with turf, but it's a really hard job trying to balance the legitimate concerns about violence and safety against the legitimate concerns about police violence and really inappropriate and criminal policing. So thank you. I don't know that people understand that you basically had to rebuild an entire program with very little staff and very little resources. beyond marina security and, no disrespect to them, but nobody was ready for this. The thing that I'm most excited about is the community wellness approach and the mental health first aid. And what I like about it is that it's giving people something affirmative that we can begin to figure out, because it strikes me that probably our most effective resource is the community, the broader community, but it's challenging because that has to be done appropriately. So I'm looking forward to hearing more what that committee is doing, how you're able to tap into it. And frankly, it's a community organizing job. You're a cop. I don't know how much community organizing training you got. My guess is a little bit, but not tons. You're walking into a whole new setup. I think that committee and the people who are rising to leadership in that committee, that's probably your strongest resource to tap into that broader network. And, every night when we leave board meeting, and sometimes we get reports from Chancellor Jackson, this thing happened, this crisis. I think for all of us as board members, it keeps us up because we're responsible at the end of the day. We fired the cops and we brought you on. Thank you for stepping into a really challenging job. I don't pretend to know that job, but I have a lot of respect for anybody willing to step forward and do it. So thank you. Being a progressive trustee in this area, not an easy thing to do because the policies and the practices are so not obvious. How you fix this is not obvious. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm the newest person here. I want to thank you for your presentation and just really acknowledge the drop in the trespassing vandalism just across the board. That dramatic drop has been great. And I also want to say that the focus as a parent of a Berkeley City College student who has a disability and mental health condition, to really see that mental health focus and that, you using language like somebody who's dysregulated, that just shows a real commitment to that community and understanding of what's needed. So thank you.
Thank you. And if I can say, as a police officer, when I came to Peralta, really didn't know that much about mental health. Really took, as being a student, and I say that to really learn mental health and really understanding the signs and symptoms. And so, it's been a learning phase for me as being a student. And I think that's why we're educators, because we're here to learn as a college institution. So it's been great. And I thank everyone for the opportunity for me to have that learning curve for me to learn more about mental health.
Any other questions or comments, colleagues? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I can,
Sure.
just one other shout out to Natasha Sahani, who really was instrumental in helping us walk our way through this very complicated setup. So Natasha, if you're listening, thank you.
Okay. We can go ahead and move to our consent calendar. Motion, please.
I'd like to remove one item. I just had a question.
Okay. You want to discuss something?
I just had one question about 10.1.
Madam President, how about I do this?
Go ahead.
I'll make the motion to approve consent. If we get a second, then you can ask for any
Second.
discussion. So
Thank you.
I moved consent. We've got a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So Chancellor, I guess I'm going to keep asking this question as long as we have PeopleSoft issues coming up. Does this upgrade include the degree audit at all, or? I mean,
Antoine, I'm trying to bring it up the document. I'm not having any success. If
Yes.
you're logged on, if you could speak to 10.1.
Yes, I can do that, Chancellor. Thank you, and good evening, board member. This item is not the degree audit. We did have a student journey that the chancellor have asked us to do to map out the student journey, and degree audit is part of the project that's coming in and is being addressed. And we have other items also that come out from that assessment of the student journey. These items speak to the SSO, single sign-on. This allow a single point of entry for all the students and faculty and staff to log into a portal. And it provides the security, necessary security posture to make sure that we are addressing a cybersecurity program. This item is funded by the state. The state, after doing an assessment of our security, have allowed us to move forward and fund this project at its fullest. So this project's addressing only security concern that we have around logging in and single sign-on, and also you have this benefit for student access. So, but the degree audit is coming up, and that will be addressed very shortly. There is a list of projects that we have on the list that's going to be presented also. Chancellor, you want to add something on it?
No, I think you covered everything, but it really is, I couldn't remember what SSO is, students.
Single sign-on.
Student, yeah, sign on. Because our students have Canvas, they have their emails, and if they forget one or the other, how do they get through? So the single sign-on, and once you set it up, we allow for it to be like 60 days before they ask you to make a change to it. And hopefully one of these days we'll actually get to, face recognition or thumbprint recognition, but we're not there yet. So single student sign-on will make it better for our students. And this was one of the first recommendations that was made by the consultant who went out, and we're starting phase 3 of the student sign-on.
Single sign-on.
I'm not going, okay, I'm going to keep my mask on. But that's what it is. Vice President
I'm
Quinlan.
just always hoping that one of these is going to be degree audit.
It is. We're working on it. We have not forgotten that at all.
Okay.
It's gonna be a big party when the answer to that question is yes.
Any other questions or comments before we move to a vote? Okay, let's go ahead and do roll call.
I'm sorry, I didn't see or hear who the second was again.
Trustee Withrow.
Withrow, thank you. Student trustee Hogan,
Yes.
student trustee Latino,
Yes.
trustee Withrow,
Yes.
trustee Johannes,
Yes.
thank you. Trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napoli Bellarice,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Yes.
trustee Quinlan,
Yes.
trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you all very much. We will now move to trustee reports, and I'll start to my right. Trustee Withrow, do you have anything to report this meeting?
Sorry. I spent the weekend at the CCC conference in Monterey and co-chaired with the chancellor on a Veterans Caucus that had a good turnout, and both on a hybrid on the internet and as well as physically. Good one. We covered a really good presentation on student housing, and at a college that one of the presenters showed pictures of their student housing and the experiences they've had for the last 10 years. And it was quite good. Went on enrollment and growth techniques, given the challenges throughout the state of California and the country, as a matter of fact. Good one on dual enrollment. Excellent one on bachelor degrees for community colleges. And two of them that kind of made sense for Peralta to look into. One is cybersecurity, or they call it cyber defense, is the one that already have a bachelor's degree, in fire management. And that's it. But it was a good, fast moving paced. It was the first in-person presentation, I think, in
Yeah.
3 years,
Yeah.
something like that.
And I just to piggyback on what Trustee Whitfield, I would strongly suggest that the newer trustees, that was something that the trustees dedicated themselves to so that they could get the certificate. There's a number of workshops that you go to and you get the certificate to show to all your friends that you've gone through all the training sessions. It's getting late.
Thank you, Trustee Withrow. Trustee Reese, anything to report?
Yeah, I'll just say that I unfortunately realized at the very last minute that I wanted to go to that conference, but did not. But I did send an invitation out to our newer colleagues and also our president here to go to that. And I really, really encourage you all to actually all go, but definitely our newer trustees, just because I realized today in some of the questions that many acronyms and many things are repeated, assuming that you all know them, vision for success, all of those particular goals. And what you'll find when you go to this conference is, one, there's the competencies for new trustees, which are just important, and those are the technical details. But the other part is the state of the community colleges at the state level, housing. There's so many different things that you would not be able to understand at that level until you go. So the next one that's like this, which is the annual trustees conference, won't be until next year. However, there is an annual convention that happens November. And I'm already asking you all to put this on your calendar, because let's all go. I know you don't like to go to these anymore because you've been going for many, many years, but let's all go, because we also need to break bread together. I think we need to go, we need to get schooled, we need to get educated, re-educated, and then we need to break bread. And then the other thing that I just want to say is that I'm very excited because tomorrow is our first meeting for the Chancellor Screening Committee. So very excited about that and very excited about the many things that are to come.
Thank you, Trustee Reese. Trustee Gonzalez,
Thank you. I think the most important thing about the league conferences is actually the relationships that you build across the state, and kind of looking for people who are working on similar things, especially because really it's an advocacy organization. And we should be organizing for advocacy at the state level. The state budget, the rules and regs, those aren't handed down by God. Those are handed down through political processes. And that's the place where it gets done, a lot of it. So I had the distinct pleasure of going to the 2023 APAHI conference right here in Oakland. And in particular, the Thursday morning plenary panel, which centered Pacific Islander Native Hawaiian women, was really spectacular, really thoughtful. I think it was the first APAHI conference that featured such a conference, a panel. And the other thing that was really nice is just to see the level of leadership, particularly out of the state, that came out of this district and that still are, attached to this district. I think we can be really pleased and proud of the work we do across multicultural areas, but then especially with API students and in particular administrative leaders. So that was fun. That's it. Thanks.
VP Quinlan.
Yes, again, I just like to highlight the Alameda, the COA, the transportation, the new transportation facility. It was exciting. I think for me, talking to the faculty and how excited they were to be in a new facility, and also their excitement on being able to address the technologies of the future, which promise us clean energy and clean air, because automotive and diesel are polluting technologies, and to move to the new technologies and to be able to train for the future, they were very excited to be able to take that on in a serious way.
Thank you. Trustee Johannes.
I just want to reiterate what Trustee Reese said. Very excited to start the Chancellor Search Committee. I'm on it and we start tomorrow. So let's get the ball rolling.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito.
Just wanted to say congratulations to Laney again on that CTE day. It was really amazing to see the students, faculty, staff that made it happen, and just really, really impressive. Thank you.
I'll keep my report short. I was actually also there, but sometimes I blend in, so it just happens. I'm going to be joining COA this week with the Puente cohort number 3 dinner that is, I believe, on Thursday evening. And I'll be saying a few words on behalf of the board. So I'm really excited to be representing us as we move through to cohort 3 of the Puente program at COA. And then, of course, graduations are coming up. And then tomorrow we have our Chancellor Search Committee, screening committee rather. Lots of exciting stuff going on. I'm sure we'll have a lot to report next meeting as well. With that, I will move to you, VP Quinlan, for any announcements.
Had it, but announcements for this evening. Enrollment is now open for summer and fall 2023 semesters, and fall is free at the Peralta Colleges. Please visit www.peralta.edu to start the enrollment process. May is the best time of year because we get to celebrate student achievement with students and their families. Visit www.peralta graduation for the full list of graduations by college and cohort. Let's see, including the Peralta Latinx graduation will be on May 18th at Laney College Theater. Also, May 18th, the International Student graduation is taking place at Berkeley City College Auditorium. Both of those at 4 p.m. On the 16th, the African American and annual African and African American graduation will be on May 20th, 2023 at 11 a.m. at Evergreen Church in Oakland. Berkeley City College will be on May 24th at Zellerbach Hall on the UC Berkeley campus at 11 a.m. Also on the 24th, Merritt College's graduation ceremony will be at the Paramount Theater in Oakland at 5:30 p.m. Laney College graduation will be on May 26th at the Laney Field at 11 a.m. And also on May 26th, College of Alameda's ceremony will begin at 2 p.m. on the COA field. Let's see, the Parcel Tax Oversight Committee is meeting here in the boardroom Wednesday, May 10th from 3 to 5 p.m. The Bond Measures Oversight Committee will meet here in the district boardroom tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, May 10th. And the Laney College Library is hosting a reception for Her Story 2, The Legal History of Chinese American Women. Dr. Chang C. Chen, author of Her Story 2, will discuss her work at the Laney Library on May 12th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. All are welcome.
Okay, thank you. Lots of announcements. One thing I did want to say is I think this week was Teacher Appreciation Week, if I'm not mistaken, right? So I wanted to send some appreciation for the teachers we have on the dais and all the teachers that we have here at Peralta. Thank you so much for your service to our district. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to President Besikoff.
Thank you, President Delphine Polk, and my apologies for the totally unintentional oversight. Laney College counselor in Umoja Baca, as well as general counseling, Mickey Metcalf, passed away on April 11th, 2023. During her career, Ms. Metcalf worked at Merritt, Laney, and COA dating all the way back to 2016. Ms. Metcalf's mother is Vanessa Metcalf, who was also a colleague here in the Peralta District. At Laney College, Mickelin worked as someone who had a love for students and always had the biggest smile on her face and made people feel welcome in her presence. Those who know her have shared that they already miss that great smile. As the Umoja counselor at Laney College, she was always welcoming whenever students dropped in. And in spring of 2022, she was beginning to transition to also working with Laney's general counseling department up until the time of her passing. Mickelin left us at 37 years of age and was in the midst of completing her graduate work in music therapy. As part of that program, she went to Africa multiple times and was always so happy and excited every time she was preparing for or talking about those trips. For those wishing to attend the celebration of life in her honor, it will be on June 3rd, 2023 at 10 a.m. at the King Kennedy Center in Modesto. Thank you.
Thank you, President Besikoff. And with that, we are adjourned.